Hi, this is Fran with Stampendous, and we're continuing our Fabulous Friday Fun watercolor series. This is lesson 116, and we're going to start in with cupcakes. I'm using the Balloons and More clear set, and I've got my watercolor paper all taped down, and so we'll just fast forward some stamping here. I missed some areas up here and I overstamped up here. And probably it would be smart to turn the paper over and start again. But since I've got it all taped down, I'm going to proceed and I'm going to take it as a challenge to show you how to do some fixes. So we will proceed from here and see what we come up with. And at least you can see this other one here as something to aim for. So, okay, we're going to start in and making sure all my ink is dry. I'm going to spritz my palette to revive all the paint. On this one, just to change things around a little bit, I think I'm going to do some of the phthalo blue instead of the green as my background. So I'm going to paint that first, and then we'll play off of those colors as we fill in all the other colors. My cupcakes sort of look like they're floating through the air since I switched to blue from green over there. But let's do a little bit more painting here while that side's drying. We mentioned this in a previous lesson. If we've got all this bright light up here, I'm going to make the colors on the candles a little bit darker down here and then blend it in as it comes up into the yellows. And we can kind of do that with each color. Now let's put some patterning on our cupcake holders. And I did all polka dots on these, which is just kind of a fun thing and very easy to do. And we're kind of making each polka dot just a big brush stroke. And then I thought on some of them it might be fun to do stripes as well. And I can sort of follow the lines or just do whatever width my brush. And then I might lighten it a little bit on this side and leave it a little bit darker in that core area. And then in this area that didn't have that definition of the stamping, let's see if we can do some really dark stripes. There we go. And over here, maybe we'll do dots. Okay, next we go for icing. I'm going to keep the colors light on this for the most part. And I think we'll just go with some little bits of a strawberry icing here. And you can see the little missing lines up there. They pretty much fill in. I don't very often take the bother to take a pen, and you could do some other little curved lines. So if you follow the ridges of icing that are there and just do a little bit darker on the under edge of it, that should work. Maybe we'll do a little bit different orange flavor icing on this one. Just keep the colors light. More of a yellow on this one. Got lemon. A little bit trickier to get a gray or brown or beige that doesn't just look a little bit strange. So this one was a little bit warmer color. Let's try a little bit of a real soft tan color. And again, I'm going to leave quite a bit of the light, the white of the paper. Okay, so the shadows on this one are what really set it off, and it's nice to do it in contrast to the bright lights of the candles. So I'll turn my palette around here to get a nice gray and add it to some blue. So my gray mix and then going over here to the bit of the blue should give me a nice interesting gray tone. So I'm just going to come all the way in and around, make some interesting shape coming all the way up to the taped edge of the paper here. And I'm going to assume that shadows are being cast of the cupcake itself now down into this area. And I need a little bit darker shade. Again, right behind the cupcake and right underneath. Okay, and I like to connect it to at least the taped side here or there. And then let it just kind of spread out over this way. So that makes interesting shadows. And you've probably forgotten my boo-boo up here, but in case you're still wondering what I'm going to do, I was thinking that a dark purple color might be the best, and I could sort of flick color, but I wouldn't likely land right where it was needed. So I'm just going to try doing some little tiny dots in here. like confetti or something. And the purple covered my black ink, but now I'm going to add some more so that it looks more like a plan than a mistake, maybe. You often discover some fun fixes. Okay, I think that's fun. And while we're at it, let's add just a touch to our little flames there. And I did some little messages to add to my final card layout. So now we'll paint a little bit more using the lovely flowers from this set and create some other vases from the fruity drinks. I'm going to do this one without masking, and then we'll do more of the masking on this one. You'll see how you can make it work either way. If I stamp it like this, it looks like the leaves are down inside the jar. You want to stamp what is most in the foreground when it comes to the flowers, but knowing that I have a mask, they can overlap more or less depending on how large my total panel is. And I'm okay if some of the flowers go off the edge of the tape. It still just makes it look like I'm looking into the frame. On this one, these ice cubes I can pretend are part of a pattern of the vase, but I'm going to clean away the ink and see how we do with that. So now this is a taller vase. I'm going to stamp it a little bit higher up to look like it's further back on the table. Isn't that fun? And on this one, I added the little ribbon as though it was sitting on the table. And let's put it on this side since there's a little bit more room. On this one, I drew a little tabletop line. So actually, I'm just going to use this card. And actually, if I square it off to my grid down below, that should give me a level table here. There we go. On this one, I pushed myself to try a whole range of different colors, and I think that makes it a very fun bouquet. Almost gives you a look of more of a wildflower bouquet. They could be any different types of flowers, really. And on this one, I just wanted to take a much looser approach. So I'm not worried about the lines. I'm thinking big splashes of color. Add some yellow and then add some more of the gamboge color. It's just fun color combinations here. And then I shifted to more of a peachy color, mixing the yellow orange with the scarlet, and we'll kind of follow our colors here just so you can see. And then without even cleaning the brush, we'll shift a little bit more into the quinacridone rose over here. And then more actually of the scarlet on this one. And then we'll go to the magenta. Okay, and then since we're going to do some more of the, oh, let's do some of the phthalo blue. We'll just get a whole beautiful spectrum of color here. Bit more of the, you want more rose, so get a little bit prettier magenta. There we go. And again, I went outside the lines with almost just a little approach of dots. Okay, and then this vase now, I was sort of working around the ice cubes, making it look like a pattern of color. But let's just do this pretty magenta color. Sometimes the washes are just interesting, so I'm just going to leave that. I need a little bit more definition here on these blue flowers, so I'll add some little dots of purple, maybe a little darker behind that flower. Okay, and then let's do some of our light greens. So my yellow with the phthalo will give me a lime color. Some vases have beautiful elements inside a translucent vase, and but we'll just paint this, and after it dries we could add some more to make it look like a pattern all the way across the vase. So let's see, I've got a medium green. Let's do some leaves over here. I want a lighter green. So a wash of light green first. And again, I'm keeping it pretty loose style here of painting. And that's where I think it's fun to just play into these areas with some random little light green dots here. You can be an impressionist very easily. Okay, and then a little bit of some darker green. So now if the rest of this green has dried, even this line at the top, let's assume it's a pattern on a vase. And let's do some additional, instead of polka dots, little squares. Yellow-orange seems like a nice color for our little bow here. Actually, I needed a bit more orange or scarlet. Okay, and then let's look at the vase over here. We can start with our phthalo blue. And now since that leaf is like down inside the jar, we'll paint blue over the green. And then we'll add some more of this darker green. Yeah, that's a lovely shade of color there for our mason jar. This had a little bit more separate green and blue, which is kind of fun. Let's do our blue tablecloth. I'm going to tone it down just a little bit with this grayish color. Let that dry before we add shadows to it. And again, we could do a purple color in here, but I think the muted tone to this purple just pushes the color back into the background. So I'm coming over here to my gray area, and I see a bit of color that's kind of that purpley shade. And I'm not going to go all the way around, but I'm going to lay this in here behind the vases just to give it some depth. On this one, I liked the bluer tones, so again, I can just circle around that blue area, and bringing it down to here brings in a little bit more of that phthalo blue. Okay, so now I'm going to paint in all the way up into this shadow side of the vase here. And I want to darken it even further. Sometimes you'd get some reflected light through the glass jar. Okay, now we just need a few more shadows over here on this side. So something that is a darker shade of this blue plus a little bit of the gray tone will give us a nice shadow. So here I was shadowing the ribbon. We've moved it over. So now our shadows would go this way and over into this side. It'd be different if these vases are opaque. We would get some different, stronger shadows than if they were translucent. I liked that even lighter yellow-green. Okay, so I think it's very fun. You know, the stamps keep everything, you know, for card size, very small scale, but I think it's very fun that you can do such a fun painting relatively quick amount of time. And yeah, I hope you're having fun painting these flowers and all, and every time your skills improve. So now we're going to play with some very subtle colors of translucent color, and we'll fast forward some stamping here. And for this one, I did use the masking, um, and we just have a hint of the overlap by what we'll do with the paint. It'd be a little bit busy if we just stamped all of the lines, and you'd have to push something forward and something back. So I'm going to use the little masks since I have them cut already. And we'll just do some fast forward stamping here. I didn't tape this one all the way around because um, we're not going to paint that much in the background. And this one I did more fruit drink colors, and then this one I wanted to challenge myself to do much more muted, different shades of color. So let's start in with the ones that are a little bit more color to them. I'm going to start with a very light yellow. I'm going to add some little bits of other color. And some of the color you're seeing is what I added in the shadowing at the end. Given what we're seeing behind. So here I would see through this glass a little bit back to the orange. So I'm going to put just a little bit more of that color into the yellow area. Deepen my colors down here. We'll go to more of a rose color over here for the strawberry, and then add color. This color is giving us more of a 3D effect, and then I'm going to go quite rich color on the strawberry so that it looks opaque. Well, I might as well paint my strawberry over here while I'm at it. And if the strawberry is nice and ripe and shiny, you might get a little bit of a highlight on it. And I did a whole beautiful spectrum of colors up here, so might as well add our red there. And while that's drying, let's do a few of our other colors here. Okay, keeping everything as much in view as we can. Now let's come back over here and do some of our sweet tea. And this is perfect to be able to get all different shades of golden to brown here. And then a yellow brown, more of a reddish brown, and then some darker brown. Let's do our orange slice here. Lift some of that and get the lighter yellow into it. Okay, and then it'll go darker color as it dips down into the tea. Okay, so the next thing I want you to notice on this is how I began to come in with lighter colors in the overlap areas. So now we want a light brown, and we'd see it through here. And I just started at that edge and came part way down, something like that. Okay, this is giving us that illusion of translucent liquids here. And then the same way over here, I want to add a little bit richer bit of orange color anyway here. And then with the more washed out bit of that, I'm going to darken some in that area. Okay. And then just think through where you would be seeing through this as you imagine this jar sitting behind. So now I need a little bit of color up here and darken it here. So these are just simple things, but they begin to give more realism to your work. Okay, we're going to let that dry a little bit before I add the blue tones of shadows to the glass itself. So over here we've got a lot of very muted colors, and I think that's part of the fun of it. I tend to not do pastel very often, but this is a fun one, I think, to just experiment with very pale tones. Very tone on tone here. Let's get a little test strip. Okay, so this really light blue gray I think is about what I had here. Okay, so again I can paint all the way down and even paint across some of that one. Okay, maybe just a little bit more blue for interest. I'll reach over here to my phthalo blue. And then this is my most yellow tone, so I'm going to go to my lightest yellow brown over here. Okay, so we got a little bit of a yellow tone there. And then we'll go to more of this orangey brown tone for this one. Again, I'm keeping it pretty light washes. And I'm going to just, while I'm at it, paint into here a little bit. Add just a bit more color. And I had just a little bit more of a brownish color on this one. I'm just bringing that line further down. It takes very little to create this illusion. And I'm going to bring a little bit of this color over from this side as well, because that's a very pale color to that drink. Okay, and then I'll go back to a little bit more of the real pale blue here on this one. And then we have the soft blue of the glass. So I'm adding a little bit of that along the rim. A little bit more color to this one. I like that little bit of green. We'll add a bit of that to this one, as though the mint leaf is. Okay. Okay, back to this one. Let's do a little bit more of that soft blue-gray. So now I'm doing washes of these color over the other dry colors. It doesn't take much to create this illusion. If you were to actually set up some glasses and observe the light and all of that, you would learn a lot from just seeing your light source and all of that, how it hits these different shapes and surfaces. And then depending what color table you were set them on, you would get different shadow. So now back to this one. You could leave it just like that and keep it very simple. But these unusual shades of gray browns or lavendery purples I think are quite interesting. So I'm going to gather some bits that look sort of purpley brown or black over here, and I'm going to bring them over to my purple area and start with my darker shadows here. And so now you're going to have a shadow cast by the strawberry. Okay, I'll let that dry. And then I want more of a blue-gray, so I'm mixing in my gray-black area, but then I'm going to bring some of the, actually here's some of the phthalo blue, I'm going to bring some of that in to get a little bit more of a bluish gray. Of course, you could have multiple light sources that would be casting shadows or highlights different directions. Okay, and then we want more of a light lavender sort of shade here. So let's a bit more water on my brush. Just kind of merge all of this together. So this month has given us a lot of fun opportunities to experiment with translucent and lighting and some very interesting things. And we're going to change things up a little bit next month. So we hope you will continue watching. Tell your friends, subscribe with your YouTube account, and keep learning some fun watercolor techniques with me. Hope you had fun. Bye-bye.